It is now time for our political segment, Texas Face Off. You can watch it every Tuesday here on midday. Joining me this morning is Matt Makoviak, chairman of the Travis County Republican Party, and Abhi Rahman, communications director for the Texas Democratic Party. So the first thing we want to talk about, another member of the Trump administration is out. Nielsen resigning. She's saying at the president's request. You know, sometimes I feel like the Trump administration, every time someone resigns, it seems like there's more turnover. That's not necessarily the case, though, right, Matt, compared to other presidents?
Well, I don't know. I mean, his turnover rate's been high. He obviously has he's very demanding. He knows what he wants to do, and he wants, the folks that are on the team to respond. Look, he's deeply frustrated with the situation down the border. He sees the Congress is being totally unwilling to come together to try to deal with this legislatively. We had over 100,000 apprehensions of illegal immigrants last month alone. The situation is simply not sustainable. I don't think the DHS secretary was an appropriate target of that frustration. But if he thinks he can get someone in there who will do the job better, he has an opportunity to do that. He should have the cabinet he wants. The Senate has to confirm cabinet secretaries for permanent roles. So we'll see who he chooses, and if that person can get confirmed, it's going to take some time.
Absolutely it is. Now, Democrats are not sorry to see her go at all. In fact, she's been blamed for the family separations at the border. What are your thoughts on her resignation?
So the thing about Nielsen is she will go down as one of the most ineffective and one of the cruelest administrators in American history. If you look at it, under her watch, there was the whole family separation from the border. There was also tear gassing kids at the border too, and then there was also 2 children who died at the border under her watch. Like, that goes down to show she was the face of one of the most cruelest policies in American history. And frankly, my counterpart here brought it up very effectively. She was probably one of the most ineffective secretaries of Homeland Security in American history too. Illegal immigration is up, border apprehensions are down. You just look at it all around, and Kirstjen Nielsen was not the right person for this job, and I think nobody is really that sad to see her go on either side.
So when we talk about the fact that the 3 departments that directly deal with the border, so now Homeland Security, Defense, and Interior, they all now have acting secretaries. They don't have a stable set person in place. As a Democrat, what does this say to you about the administration?
It shows the instability of the Trump administration. I think that's the first thing. Right now, we have never had this type of turnover, and Trump's only been there for 3 years too. So the amount of turnover that we've had is absolutely ridiculous, and it just it goes to show, just with an unstable president, just what kind of his administration looks like. The administration should be a reflection of the president. Right now, because the president is so unstable, because he's so trigger happy on so many different things, there's a reason why there's so much instability with the people who are working for him.
Matt, is the Trump administration unstable?
Well, look, I think it's more chaotic than you've seen past administrations be. There's no question about that. The president doesn't seem to mind chaos. He likes, again, to be very demanding. He knows what he wants. He wants people to respond very quickly, and not everyone can do that for a long period of time. She obviously was in a very high pressure job for some time, and I think bringing some new blood in is probably not a bad idea. I do think we have to correct a few things. First of all, child separations occurred under Obama. That's when it started, and it started not because Obama didn't like children or because Trump didn't like children. It started because of a judicial ruling called the Flores Settlement that required this when families or unaccompanied minor children come to the country. So that's number one. Look, I think we focus on some of these aspects without focusing on what are we doing to actually. Democrats don't want to do that. They want to remove current border barrier. They don't want to do anything related to the border wall in the urban areas. So, Democrats, I think, are focused on the people, which I understand why. We're all compassionate towards these people that are trying to claim asylum. But 100,000 apprehensions last month is not sustainable. That is an absolute crisis. And I think even Democrats now are beginning to admit that it is a crisis.
Well, but I don't think Democrats, and I know you're jumping, I don't think Democrats say, okay, we just want open borders, we don't want to do anything, or that it's not a problem, right?
Yeah, so I would say the big thing with that is if you look at the stats, like border apprehensions were up under the Obama years, and it wasn't because we built a barrier, it was because we had smart, sophisticated technology to actually secure our borders. I think that's what we need right now, and I think there's no Democrat out there who is saying that we don't. Like, there's a difference between having a physical barrier that somebody could get a ladder and just climb over, or having smart technology that actually meets the 21st century needs to secure our borders and to also create a comprehensive immigration plan that allows us to get people who are in this country to pay taxes, to be working members of our society, and I think that's what we should be focusing on.
Well, obviously, Congress hasn't been able to figure this out, and we certainly aren't going to be able to figure it out in 3 minutes left either. So I want to jump, before we end, on to Senator John Cornyn and the race for his seat that's coming up. A lot of people starting to look at this race, questioning who could run against him. Is it going to be former candidate MJ Hagar, who ran for the House? Is it going to be one of the Castro brothers, Joaquin Castro? What are your thoughts on this race, and is he vulnerable to a Democrat?
So, no, I believe Senator Cornyn will be reelected. Obviously, he is preparing very seriously for a reelection race, recognizing that Ted Cruz was only successful by 2.6%. I don't believe these Democrats begin where Beto ended. I believe they begin where they begin. And MJ Hagar is not a statewide figure. Joaquin Castro is known only in San Antonio. So we'll see who they end up putting forward. But the Cornyn team is very seriously, and the Republican Party of Texas taking it very seriously.
Democrats say they're going to rally and they're going to get this seat. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so John Cornyn is the most unknown and disliked politician in the state of Texas. He's more disliked than Donald Trump. He's more disliked than Ted Cruz. That shows you exactly where John Cornyn's standing is, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, there's 1.8 million new voters in the state of Texas who didn't vote in 2016, and you look at that, those people don't know who John Cornyn is because he spent the last 30 years climbing the Washington ladder instead of looking out for everyday Texans. All right, so that's number one. Number two, John Cornyn, he's somebody who literally was the whip of the Republican Party. You don't get that points by doing Texas-centric issues. Like, he got there by focusing on Washington, by being who he really wanted to be, which was a Washington insider.
But to say he's the most unliked, that's a very harsh statement.
Yeah, that's what polling shows. He is the most unliked and unknown politician in the state of Texas. You look at polling. That's
definitely have to take a look back at those polls. All right, well, we thank you both for joining us here this morning. We unfortunately are out of time. For our viewers, you can rewatch this on our website, KVUE.com, right after midday. We'll be right back.